We move on to another fireside chat that from somebody who flown all the way from Germany to be here and speak with us. My next guest is a senior advisor and board member, the head of regulatory development and government affairs at PI Industries, which is an Indian agri-science enterprise with a strong international footprint. He's worked across R&D, regulatory affairs, and ESG strategy with governments and regulators, bringing the kind of cross-border experience that we really appreciate here at Engaging India at Almudalen. So let's dive straight in. Klaus, this is something I have picked up from something that actually you have written, the agri-science industry, right? There has been a lot of talk about precision agriculture for decades. Better yields, less waste, smarter inputs. But what you are arguing is that the real prize is something different, a fundamental shift to outcome-based business models. What do you mean?
Thank you. First of all, thank you. And for me, it's always cool to be the representative of India in Sweden, being a German. Very special experience for me. Thank you for having me once again. What I want to say with this, I think we had a lot of conversations about what is the risk of introducing AI, what is the opportunity of introducing AI, and I want to talk about what is the imperative why we must introduce AI. I think if I've been working in agriculture now for more than 20 years, my observation is when we talk about sustainability, we have a paradox to resolve. We need to produce more because full population is growing, and if you are living in Gotland, you don't see what you see when you're living in Delhi. I mean, this is so different, and there are so many people. How can enough food be produced for so many people? While even today, only twice I heard planetary boundaries. The discussion with the political crisis and the economic crisis is in the back, far in the back today. How can we resolve that we produce enough food while we reduce the negative impacts of agriculture at the same time? And this is so complex that I think without AI, we have already proven that we are not able to fix it. It's too complex. It starts with biodiversity. Everybody wants to have like measures on biodiversity, ESG. You know, you have the CSRD, companies are asked to report on biodiversity. The frameworks which are there are not sufficient. Because biodiversity is much more complex than carbon. It's not just carbon. It's the multitude of all organisms. It's not only honeybees, it's thousands of pollinators. It's not only one rain, it's not only one butterfly, it's not only one organism, it's all of them. How can you ever get this under control? I think we must use AI. They can connect so many more data points than we can connect to come to a system which is able to produce sufficient food but significantly reduce the negative impacts on agriculture. And one last thing, sorry for going energetic on this, but I mean the discussion we have in Europe is a very ideological one. And I think I say the same like I said last year when I was here. We have a conversation between should we do conventional agriculture or organic agriculture? And there's a huge belief that organic agriculture is the solution to the problem. Organic agriculture is only a statement of where do you take the inputs from. It's not making what I wanted to say in my statement, any judgment on what is the desired outcome. Regenerative is a statement about an outcome. Organic is a statement about an input. I think we're having the wrong conversation on something which is so fundamentally important, and we can't wait much longer. We need to come to a regenerative agriculture where nature is able to compensate for the negative effects that we produce if we do agriculture, whatever form agriculture it may be. And this is why I believe AI is not only nice to have or dangerous to have, is imperative to introduce in a way that we start to connect the dots.
And how does one connect these dots in terms of what we are measuring and what we are verifying? So the factor of trust, how one measures, etc., also comes into play.
Yeah.
Are there any railguards that you would very early on bring into the picture when one does speak about, especially when one is talking about food production?
Yeah, I mean, this is. I'm preaching to the converted. That's clear. Sustainability is about production, productivity, and about negative impacts, about environment and social impacts. It's all three, and it all needs to be balanced in a better way than we have it today. So, I mean, one of those guardrails has to be that, I mean, for example, my personal belief is if we continue to erode the soils, this cannot be compensated anymore. So one of the guardrails is the soil health has to increase globally. If you do this, then we solve a lot of problems because all the biodiversity, even carbon, are linked to a healthy soil. If we would do this much better, we would do a lot of things much better. If we start to use AI to connect all the dots for food production, what if somebody enters the system? What if somebody hacks the system? Then somebody hacks the food security system as such. So I think this is where the trust, if you start to think agriculture as a global data game, and then somebody's getting into this, I think this is a huge threat. And by any means, we have to protect the system that we are building here against cyber attacks. I think that's absolutely fundamental.
And I guess that's where the regulatory frameworks, etc., do come in also. But moving to a business case, because often innovation happens, especially in, say, in universities, does happen in silos, right? And how does often it sits in the laboratory? How does one take it out of a laboratory, make it a strong business case so that it is beneficial 10x, 100x?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a German. I think in Germany, I can say, we have a huge gap between academic research and transforming this into business value. It starts with the fact that in the university, your incentive is to write a publication or to give a presentation. And in this moment, when you have done it, your patent protection rights are gone. This is a fundamental issue. I've seen it in so many universities, but that's not only in Germany. I would say, I mean, probably still, if you like it or not, the United States is a country where this is done in a much better way. How can we guide universities early enough to understand if they have something really valuable from an economic perspective? How can we balance, because the incentive of a professor is like ranking, publication ranking, citation index, these type of things. There must be a counterweight into this to encourage and incentivize economic work rather than publication, because the publication destroys the patent protection, the non-existing patent protection destroys the economic value. So this is something I think which is very straightforward that we need to address.
Interesting. Now let's move to India. You started with India. India has the scale and the diversity of farming systems, right? And also a growing technology ecosystem. Now, given your global experience, what's that one thing that India can prove to, say, agricultural transformation that can be a case example?
It's crop diversity. I mean, if you talk about biodiversity, and if you talk about the issues of agriculture going back into eroding soils, it's most and foremost that we only have very few crop rotations. In the big agricultural areas in the United States and in Brazil, you have corn and soy and corn and soy. This is not healthy for soils. India has the crown of spices, has the crown of diversities, the crown of so-called minor crops. Minor crops are crops which are now supported by the major companies with new production and new technologies. I'm personally also engaging in the so-called Minor Use Foundation, which really wants to encourage companies to invest not only in corn, soy, rice and wheat, but also in spices, vegetables and fruits. Chemical pesticides, biological pesticides, but new technology, better technology than the one which is available in those crops. And I think there India has the absolute opportunity to be like the leader. The other part is where we struggle in globally, that we have this large-scale farming, especially in the Americas. India is smallholder farming. So how can we bring technology to smallholders in a better way than we do today. Of course, they don't have these machines like in the United States. They can never have. They could basically, with one machine, they could treat the fields of 10 farmers in parallel. But what technology can we bring to Indian farmers to scale? And the power is huge.
Any examples that you might want to share, especially anything to do with sort of technology that's using AI and getting into very precision agriculture?
I think you start a little bit earlier because those farmers don't have these huge machines with like John Deere with all the calculators, precision application. I mean, you need to go like they all have iPhones. You can make much better prescriptions through the iPhones.
Okay.
You can help them with much better systems on the iPhones, how they can rotate, which technologies they can use. Companies like PI are super engaged in that space. There are other areas which I think are more like, I mean, if you are from Delhi, around Delhi in November, you can see it in the news here. People, they stay at home because the air quality in Delhi becomes so bad. When the temperatures are falling, 50% comes from the city, 50% comes from the agricultural areas around where the farmers are burning their rice stubbles. I mean, this is such an impactful space where we need to step up and find solutions. Absolutely. Imagine the impact. I mean, the globally measurable impact if we reduce this and children can go to school again in Delhi and all the carbon release would be half. That would be really big stuff.
So I'll close with a question you might have heard before. And you don't need a regulatory framework for this answer. If you had an AI avatar representing you in the world, what would it be and what would you absolutely not let it do on your behalf?
If I had an avatar, I think what I don't like is these like consensus discussions that we have today, where everybody is on the same page, everybody agrees we need to do something, roundtables and roundtables and roundtables and no action following.
Yes.
So, I mean, I had in a different place, I was asked the same question and I said, I'm Slytherin, for those who know Harry Potter. I will give you the tough messages and not the nice things that you want to see. So I stay to this. I think the time for nice roundtables is over. Is definitely over. The time has come that we jointly take massive action. And I'm, from that angle, a big fan of AI because I can see how AI can bring us to a completely different level and overcome our own deficiencies because we are simply not smart enough. So that's my Slytherin message to you. Thank you.